Mic test, mic test. Alright. Flight Noob episode 4. Here we go. Let's do it again. What do we got today? Today we are going to be flying from Amendola to Naples, Italy. This is not a very long flight. Looks like about 24 minutes. And the goal today is to demonstrate ILS landings. Should be fun. ILS means instrument landing system. So doing a couple things real quick before we get started. Alright, so gonna be flying the Dower TBM 930. This is a turboprop plane, same one I flew last time. Getting pretty decent with it, and we're gonna be doing a cold departure. So we're actually gonna be starting from ramp 27 at this airport. We're gonna be going over to runway 29 on a northwest departure, and it's actually a direct departure. So in real life, you probably wouldn't take a straight route like this, and I'll show you why. So you have, when it comes to IFR, instrument flight rules, you have a couple different ways to go about navigating. Here's the map. This is SkyVector's a really good website for showing these maps. So I got the airport codes for the departure and destination in here, and you'll see you have all these lines. And right now I'm on this view called World Low. There's two sets of what's called vectors, and vectors are these lines you see here. Each vector has a identifier, and in the real world, if you were to fly the flight plan from these two airports, which is only half an hour flight, very short flight in Italy, you would have these vectors you'd have to follow, and this is what keeps this is what keeps planes from crashing into each other. Is you have these essentially highways that are in the air, and you have a world low and world high, or pretty much low altitude and high altitude. And this is part of what's called IFR, instrument flight rules, as opposed to VFR, or visual flight rules. When you're a new pilot and you first start flying, when you fly single engine planes, ultralight plane, you're going to be following VFR, or just visual flight rules. You know, you don't have a lot of advanced systems for detection of collision. In modern airplanes, you have a couple different systems that will detect collisions, and typically you want to follow these sky vectors, or these highways in the sky, and then you have these VORs. Okay, if you've never seen a VOR, I will show you what that is. So, VORs, okay? These are pretty much big antennas sticking out of the ground. You've probably seen these and wondered what they were. These are waypoints. They are waypoints that have their own stations, and you program these into a flight plan, and you'll navigate based on these VORs, and you can either navigate on these VORs based on what's called RNAV, or just radio navigation, or you can navigate old school style by triangulating your position from the nearest VOR using some calculations, using maps. Back when they didn't have GPS, they had to pretty much calculate where they were at all times, on what heading they were on, if they were going away from a VOR. So if they were on a radial will be going away from a VOR. If they were on a bearing heading towards a VOR, that all had to be done with this kind of stuff here, OBS and your compass, essentially. And you had to calculate this stuff, and you had to know where you were going. You actually had to navigate properly. Now, with GPS and radio navigation, we don't have to do that. But you still gotta follow these runways, typically, these airways. Now, the blue lines typically represent GPS, where the black lines are kind of more old school. So most things are GPS nowadays. Most things are radio navigation. That's why these lines are blue. But here's world high, and you can see there's a mixture between black and blue. And the ones that are in black are for airplanes that don't have satellite navigation systems. They still exist. They're really old school. Here's a VFR map, and so this will actually show you the world. So if we're using instrument flight rules, or world high, world low, then we don't really need to worry too much about terrain, although you should always look at the terrain, in my opinion, because these waypoints automatically have altitudes set to them in your flight plan. They're going to take you out of harm's way. But if you're doing VFR, or visual flight rules, you're not going to have that luxury. So you're going to want to take a look at the VFR map, and you see this here on the screen is 4.8, there's 8.1, and this is altitude, right? These are altitude minimums. So you got 4,800 foot minimum here, 8,100 foot. This is actual land altitudes. So you're not going to get quite as much information on the IFR. Let's see here. Anyway, so an interesting difference is, I can't really find the altitudes here, but altitudes that are on an IFR map are going to give you how low that you should, or how you should be, where a VFR is going to give you the actual measurement of how high the terrain is. So it looks like our journey is going to be pretty low. As long as we're over 4,800 foot, we're going to be okay. But it's a lot of information to take in. A little bit of a dump there. But essentially, with radio navigation, any kind of navigation, you have to follow these vectors. We're going to be doing a cold takeoff from Amendola, I guess. We're going to see if we can't taxi properly over to runway 29. So this is not realistic, really. I mean, you could do this if you had prior I guess authorization from the towers to do this, but even then, this is going to be pretty alien. But it takes 24 minutes, so I didn't want to make it last any longer than that. So let's go ahead and take off. It's dark outside, so we're going to get some weather turn. Let's get some sunshine. There we go. That's more like it. Okay, so we're starting cold. Typically, you want to pick up a checklist when you're starting cold like this, and you want to follow the entire checklist. We're not going to do that. You should always follow the checklist. I'm not going to sit here and bore you guys with a checklist, so I know what needs to be done here. So, first things first. Alright, let's see here. Auto. So, it's actually kind of goofy. We need power. It's not wanting to give that to us. Check this out. Source. Off. No. We need electricity. We can't. There we go. It's acting kind of goofy there. Alright, so... run battery, so... which means we have to get going quickly. You see, we don't... one disadvantage of an airplane is you don't really get an alternator. You get auxiliary power, which can be in the form of a turbine called a ram turbine, or we get ground power, or where they actually will plug in power for us outside. So we don't really need that today. If you're sitting on a runway for a long time, typically, yeah. All right, let's see here. We're in Italy. I don't think we need the ice. Inertial separation. So what inertial separation is that it is a little vent that comes on kind of the bottom of the aircraft that's going to redirect dirt and debris away from your main engine. When you're low or when you're on the ground, there's risk of a bird strike. You know, we don't want to suck crap into the engine, so now that will take a little bit of engine performance away from us. We can disable it once we get high enough. So we should have in our MFP, we should have a flight plan. Here's our flight plan. Alright, let's go ahead and make sure. Let's see here. Good there. So one thing that's kind of tricky is that these planes will have an AP trim setting. So autopilot / trim, and it needs to be on, or else autopilot's not even going to work. So you have to turn autopilot on, and then you can turn autopilot on. It's kind of redundant. I'm not really sure why that is. So fuel tank selection, right? So we're on automatic. And the reason why is because we have two tanks. You have left wing and you have your right wing, and we don't want to drain one and create a weight imbalance in the plane midair. So I like to keep it on automatic for that reason. We're actually going to Make sure we got plenty of fuel. Let's see if we can't request ground services to give us some fuel.
Amendola ground Dahar Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra Alpha, could you please send a fuel truck?
Alright, let's see if we get some fuel.
Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra Alpha, a fuel truck is on the road.
Is it? Okay. Whatever. Okay, so it's complaining about us. So this is a lot of warnings here. Always pay attention to your warnings. Low voltage, yeah, so we're on battery. We need to get going quickly. Leads off. Let's go ahead. This is why there's checklists. There's just a lot of little stuff you got to do, you know. So trim is pretty basic. So if you're not using autopilot and you're manually flying the plane, and let's say that it wants to rise on its own, you got to keep on pushing it down. It goes to rise on its own or go down on its own. That can be annoying, and you don't want to make a long flight having to deal with constantly having to readjust it. So what you can do is if you're going up constantly and you want to try to stay level, you can adjust the trim, and you can actually kind of get that default 0 level to where you want it to actually keep the plane down. So it's kind of like a preset, essentially. You're just kind of adjusting the ailerons. You're adjusting the rudder. You're adjusting everything has a trim essentially, and you can adjust those things to where they're more leveled out in flight. So you can put your hand at the wheel or the yoke, and you no longer have to really worry about that. Let's see here. Is the fuel truck here yet? Nope. Those lying bastards. Alright, let's check our ignition systems. Let's complain about that. Here we go. Lead, auto. Aux boost pump on. Oil pressure. Complaining about oil pressure. Why is it complaining about oil pressure? Looks fine to me. Whatever.
Aural warning, okay.
Stop that from complaining at us. Alright. Let's get this bird in the air. Jeez, Pete. Go ahead. We're gonna taxi ourselves to the runway.
Amendola ground Dahar Alpha Sierra X-Ray
Oh, we got
Golf
plenty of
Sierra
fuel.
Alpha, I am done with fuel services.
Let's emulate some passengers, right? So let's put a few passengers in here. Let's do a couple adults. Oh shit! Ah! It's a simulator. You gotta be careful. We just hit our tail. Of course, it wouldn't happen in real life. You wouldn't suddenly drop several tons onto your plane at once. Let's put a couple children in the back. Oh, there it goes again. That's hilarious. Let's reset that, huh? Alright, how do we... I tell you what, we're going to have some... let's put a whole bunch of weight in the front real quick. Try to... Look at that! That's freaking hilarious. Alright, so... I may or may not weigh around that, I'm not going to say. Put a co-pilot in there as well. Maybe a lighter weight co-pilot. A couple adults. And actually, real life, if you have, you know, all this weight, it's gonna affect your ability to take off and land. So typically, you need a longer runway if you have more weight. And those things typically you'd calculate or you'd have to worry about. But the plane will give you, if you look at the manual of the plane, it'll give you a maximum runway needed. And it does that, I believe, with the maximum weight in mind, for safety reasons, obviously. So. Boost pump. Here. Uh-oh. Auto's fine. Alright, let's taxi the runway. It's getting old. Park and brake off. And my joystick's not working. That's brilliant. There we go. Alright. Laps are still up. Normally this guy wouldn't be here. He's kind of been loitering here since I've started playing. We're gonna get to the taxiway here. You gotta wait, dude. Look at this! Oh man. The FAA would not be happy with that guy. Oh. What the hell is taxiway? This place is really bizarre. Let's see here. Okay. You're going to go this way. Once we get to the runway we need to be at, we're going to set our autopilot, get everything set up in the plane. In the next video, I want to try to jump into a 747, something big, something really challenging. But this little plane here, this is fantastic. It's so fast for being a prop plane. It's unbelievable. Clearance options from our request.
Amendola ground Donner Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra Alpha ready to copy IFR clearance to Naples. Donner Alpha Sierra.
Okay, so we're at the wrong side of the runway. I'm not sure how we even taxi the other side, so we're just going to kind of go down there and cut around.
Climb, but maintain 10,000 feet. Departure frequency is ONE 29.775 squawk 3677.
Normally you wouldn't do this, but for some reason the taxiway is kind of goofy in this airport, so I really wouldn't know what the hell is going with that.
Doppler Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra Alpha cleared to Naples Airport is filed. Takeoff runway 29er climb but maintain 10,000 feet. Departure on ONE 29.775 squawk 3677.
So squawk code, right? So what a squawk code is every plane has what's called a transponder. I'm sure that whoever's watching this has heard of that. Transponder is a identification. It is a box that has a hard-coded identification to your plane, kind of like a MAC address of a computer, and it is a interrogate and challenge signal. So if you're in the airspace, they're going to know who the plane's registered to, who you are, what the plane's model is, everything about it essentially. And the squawk code is just the code that's assigned specify the manufacturer of that equipment to your transponder. Alright, getting to the end of the runway, we probably take off the wrong damn direction. Taxiing on the runway, that's safe. Well, to be honest, this little bit of airport, probably nothing going on anyway. Alright, so we'll turn right here. Oh, Jesus. There we go. Get a little jerky. Alright. Should be clear for takeoff already. Yep. You're clear for takeoff, so we're gonna break it. So they say planes fly themselves, right? Why is it so blurry? Barely see what's going on with this. Whoa! What the heck? Something's gone wrong. Look at his graphics, they're all jacked out. Holy moly. Something's seriously gone wrong here. Let's get rid of the passengers. Okay, so we have lost everything. The graphics are completely glitched out, and something's gone wrong. So we actually can't fly. Oh, hey, look, it's back! What in? Oh man, that's one thing about being live. You can't really plan for these screw-ups. So this game's glitching out, obviously. We're doing good. As long as it don't happen when we're mid-flight, we'll be screwed if that happens. So we're going to look at the flight plan. This is going to give us an idea of the VORs and waypoints that we need to navigate to and what altitudes we need to be at. So we're not going any higher than 7,000 feet. We got to be at 7,000 feet and 55 nautical miles. That's easy. That's so much time to get up. Sometimes you have to worry about between VOR and VOR. If there's tremendous altitude drops or altitude climbs in a very short amount of time, you have to take the nautical miles between VORs and calculate a vertical speed ascent rate. That's pretty easy to do, but we don't have to worry about that right now, thank God. So looks like we're going to climb to right to 7,000 feet, and we have to do it within 55 miles. So we know that the next waypoint is still pretty far away. So we're going to come here, we're going to set, shut up, we're going to set autopilot. Yaw damper is nice. It allows for a very smooth lateral movement of the plane. Half bank mode just kind of calms down the ailerons, makes it to where it's a smoother turn. We don't want that because sometimes if there's a really sharp turn from VOR to VOR, that could get us out of our heading. So we're going to set the altitude mode, and we're going to tell it to go to 7,000 feet. This will give us a nice view of Naples as well. Nice view of Italy. Only 7,000 foot up in the air, so see this over here? 7,000. The plane's going to go to 7,000 feet. It's going to stop there, and it's going to stay there. Autopilot is a thing of beauty. So, and now we want to switch to vertical speed mode. This will tell us at what rate that we want to ascend to that altitude. We come up here to this little roller here, and you'll see a speed bug show up on the screen right here. And you'll see it go up. So 1,000 feet a minute. We're going to do you know, this is pretty flat here, so we can actually go. There's some mountains in the area, but we don't have to go pretty. We don't have to go real crazy with this. So do 1,700 feet a minute. All right, so yeah, we'll do a little higher now. 1,800. So we're good. Autopilot is set. Flight director. Flight director is nice. It kind of tells you. It kind of gives you a predictive future. Like it'll tell you what the plane's gonna do, which is really nice. And we should have full on GPS navigation here. We're gonna go ahead and take off. A lot goes into this. I know, it's slow and it's kind of methodical and it's kind of boring, but a lot goes into it. There's so much safety involved with this, and I've actually bypassed a lot of the safety. The pilots have to sit here and go through so many checklists to make sure everything's good. People are afraid of flying, but I'm not afraid of flying anymore. I mean, when was the last time you checked your tire pressure and your oil temperature before you took off in your car? People just don't do it. But with these planes, they get checked so frequently that it's really, things don't go wrong very often because of that. Famous last words, right? Let's take off. We're going right to 7,000 foot, so we can go ahead and get going. Now I got weight in the back, so I'm going to feather the throttle. If you have weight in the back of your airplane, on something like that, a small airplane like this, and you go jamming that throttle, you can do what's called a tail strike, where you just go backwards like you've seen earlier. You can damage the airplane that way. So we're going to go gradual on the... Look, it's already wanting to go nose happy. Alright, here we go. I'll do that. Alright, so I didn't get engage autopilot in time, so autopilot's a little bit wonky. We're going to have to get to altitude, get more stable before we can re-engage it, which is fine. I'll manually fly for a little bit. I forgot to put my flaps in takeoff. That's fine. A flapless takeoff is fine. You just need a little more runway. But it's my bad. That's why we have checklists, friends. Heading. We're actually still manually flying, so I'm waiting until I get more stable before we activate autopilot. We're going to watch our speed. Alright, so now that we're stable, autopilot's on, we're banking pretty crazy. See, that would be a way too dangerous of a bank in real life. I wouldn't do it. Gotta figure out what the hell it's doing now. That's fine. So I've turned on navigation mode, and what essentially this is going to do, it's going to the RNAV, the radio navigation, is going to follow every single one of these waypoints. But I turned on navigation mode, and the plane went backwards. I'm thinking it's going to want to hit that point and then turn around and go the other way. I really hope that's the case. We're going to turn half bank mode on to prevent any more of those crazy bank turns. I have no idea what the hell this thing's doing. Shouldn't have done that. So we're going to turn off nav mode for now, get back on course, and turn it back on and see what happens. This would have been a delay in real life, and it wouldn't have caused that much time, but I mean, things don't always go right. That's the thing. Sometimes mistakes are made, and the systems act goofy, and you have to be ready for that. Not sure what the hell this thing's doing now. What the hell? Look at this. Yep, autopilot's now off, so something's really gone crazy with our autopilot systems. This is not normal, folks. Hey, it's called Flight Noob. I'm still learning this, so... But there's some abnormal behavior happening with our systems. So autopilot's doing that. Yep, see that? Autopilot is actually doing that on its own. So we gotta retry this. Stay tuned.